Today I'm celebrating Charlie Chaplin, someone whose films I am not entirely familiar with. There are people who I know who still swear that his films are so great to watch, and I haven't given myself that time for that. I try to avoid how much time I spend in front of screens. I've hardly watched any of those long TV series and not so many films, and I'm sure I'll get to enjoy them one day. But the reason that I really feel to mention Charlie Chaplin is the knowledge that I have of a certain element to his life that is, I think, little known. Charlie Chaplin obviously was the star of Hollywood silent films during that era before sound really came along, and he was dearly loved everywhere he was viewed. He brought a charm and an innocence to the character of the tramp. He played the lovable tramp, the society's outsider that he managed to humanize. And I think even in that silent period, he was doing a very conscious piece of social work, trying to show that those in the lowest in society, in terms of how it's often viewed, have a heart and a softness that had to be venerated, that they couldn't be just disregarded. He made a working class hero out of his character. And so clearly he had a real consciousness about what he was doing throughout his film career. But when the opportunity to record sound appeared, he chose to make a film called The Great Dictator. And it was a tale that told the story. It was in the aftermath of the Second World War, and he shows the ascendancy of a dictator, or at least it's set in a period of time where there's a military dictator. And at the very end of the piece, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler, he finds himself on stage. He's still the lovable tramp, but finally he finds himself disguised as the great dictator and goes on stage to deliver a speech. And this is right at the end of the film, and it's the first time Charlie Chaplin has ever spoken on camera. And he delivers a speech which I will show a link to in the description, which is one of the most moving and powerful and heartfelt speeches ever delivered on camera, let alone imagining a world leader delivering a speech like this. And this was recorded many, many years ago, and he, from that time on, seemed to make enemies for himself in the world of film. And he actually became, he was hounded by the authorities, and eventually when he left the United States for the final time, he was asked to do a photo shoot by a very famous photographer whose name I forget, who managed to get him on the way to the airport. And in that photo shoot, a picture is taken of him, a memorable picture, which I will also send a link to into the description, which shows this beautiful man, this actor, who's made a great success of himself as he has been demonized towards the end of his career before he leaves the country for the last time. And it's such a fitting picture, apropos for the situation that he was in. I commend the photographer and the actor for having managed to capture this moment so honestly and beautifully. And so Charlie Chaplin for me is someone, even though I'm not necessarily familiar and a fan of his work through it, I know very little about his career, but for this moment alone, I wish to commemorate his genius and honour the honesty and the integrity of a man who managed to be a part of this enormous Hollywood machine that we know has, used and abused many people in the course of its history. And he managed to stay true to his deepest feelings all the way through. And so today I'm celebrating Charlie Chaplin.